Hey viewers, it's Tammy2009, and I'm finally back with another Thomas Friends related video. And this is going to be sort of a different 3-print type of review, since this isn't actually a Bluebird Thomas Friends review, since I discontinued the Bluebird Thomas series. So, 2023 took a bit of a long time for me to actually make the entire Bluebird collection. But now that it's a new year, I thought it would be fun to do a few new projects since the Bluebird series is now over. And I'm so happy to actually have some new stuff here. So there's going to be quite a lot of new things that are going to happen on this channel. There's going to be some changes. For those of you who have seen my recent community posts, you know that I have, a few years ago, I actually did a ertl Mini Thomas line of 3-print ertl miniature models. And recently, I decided to bring this series back and make some new characters. However, I thought I'd try to do my own take on the ertl Mini line and make them sort of accurate to the actual ertl models themselves. If I show you this little ertl Thomas here, it is different compared to the one I showed you in 2021, along with Lady Emily, Rosie, and Fergus. And here's the bigger ertl Thomas for comparison, just for a size comparison. And you can see how small this guy is next to the bigger ertl model. And by the way, I found this guy at a flea market and replaced my old one. I mean, you probably could have just said, why don't I keep the old one and just turn this one into a custom? Well, since I bought it at the flea market, it just would feel wrong to, ruin its value. Ertl trains are very delicate, and when people make customs of them, it can be cool sometimes, but these ertl trains hold a special place to most people. I mean, ertl's one of my favorite Thomas Friends merchandises, by the way. And if you love ertl, please tell me in the comments below. But anyways, if you saw my other community posts of other projects I've done, I've made a Gauge 1 Edward. And if I show you right here, I just updated my Gauge 1 Toby and gave him a better face. By the way, shout out to the Lazy Train for making the files for these faces for Toby and James and Thomas. I don't know if you can see, but my Gauge 1 Edward is chilling with all the plushies that I have on there, on the top shelf. And, oh yeah, let me just show you real quick right here. Move some stuff here. I've recently been working on a new project known as the N-Scale Thomas range, and I'm super excited to actually make more models of these N-Scale trains. I've got James, Gordon, and Henry here. And if I show you, hold on. Let me just get this down real quick and show you. I've actually made an N-Scale Thomas with Annie and Clarabelle as a little bonus. So, I gotta say, this N-Scale Thomas came out very nice, and when I continue this project, I will try to review this Thomas as well as any other engine I make. I did complete Edward as well, as if you saw recently. And if I do make more N-Scale trains, I'm only making characters from the Classic series. This means I'm not going to be making any characters from the Hit era or the CGI series. These are only going to be characters from seasons 1 through 7. So, if you do like this N-Scale Thomas, and if you're excited for the range to continue, I will make more characters. But, yeah, we'll talk about that later. One day. But now, for my first ertl miniature video that I haven't done in a long time, for this new remastered version, mind you, we're going to be taking a look at the first 8 narrow gauge engines. And for those of you who don't know them, we have Skarloey, Rheneas, Sir Handel, Peter Sam, Rusty, Duncan, Ivo, Hugh, and Duke. And yes, I did make Bertram as well, but we're going to save Bertram for a later video, since Bertram really doesn't have that much of a connection to the main narrow gauge engines themselves. Like, I mean, he did make an appearance in the episode Toby's Discovery, and he was seen, like, pulling coaches alongside the narrow gauge engines. And him and Toby are now good friends. So, yeah. So, we're going to be talking about all the narrow gauge engines here. And these have to be some of my favorite engines of all time. And I'll explain why later. So, first, let's go ahead and do Ivo Hugh first, since he's the one people know the least. That's what I'm guessing. So, here's Ivo Hugh, the number 7 of the narrow gauge fleet, before Fearless Freddy took over and replaced him in the TV show. So, now, the face is actually very accurate to Ivo Hugh. Like, if you're wondering where I got this face from, it was from this Roblox Thomas game called Railway with a Heart of Gold, made by the same person who made Tiny Tank Engines. So, credit goes to him for the face. I mean, there could have been other things I could have done for Ivo Hugh's face, but I do like this one. Now, like I said, Ivo Hugh doesn't really get that much of an attention. Like, he rarely has any screen time in the Railway series. I think he only appeared in one story. I mean, I don't know how the story goes. If you know what story Ivo Hugh is from, please tell me in the comments below, if you know more about the Railway series than I do. But his design is a bit small, but he's still pretty cute. And he's a little shorter than Fearless Freddy, and I do wish that they could have actually made Ivo Hugh instead of Fearless Freddy. I mean, I get it. They want to introduce more new characters just for toys, but at the same time, they could have given them character development and not make them unlikable like Billy and Dennis, or even forgettable like Molly or Mighty Mac. But at least they gave Rosie, Stanley, Whiff, and Rocky some more recognition in the CGI series. But anyways, so I don't know what there is to say about Ivo Hugh. He's just, I mean, honestly, he just exists, but I love him nonetheless. He's still a pretty awesome guy. And if you like Ivo Hugh, please tell me in the comments below. I also gave him blue stripes. So, I mean, that's Ivo Hugh. Don't really know that much about him, but he's still cool. Now, the other unique one that stands out is Duke the Lost Engine, because of his brown paint and the fact that he's a tender engine. Now, the faces all came from the actual 155 scale ertl models, as you can tell with this Thomas right here compared to the other Thomas right here. I mean, Duke is pretty nice. He's the oldest engine, and honestly, I wish that Duke came back, because we haven't seen him since Season 4. I don't think that'll happen because of All Engines Go, but who knows? Maybe one day Mattel might look at the narrow gauge engines, or even Duke himself, and say, you know what? Why not? Let's add them to the show, along with Duck Doll, Douglas and Oliver, and all the other fan favorites. Like, seriously. I don't know why Mattel never brought back the fan favorites after they brought back All Engines Go. After they made All Engines Go, sorry. Like, I feel like that would have made it even better. But still, Duke's stories are honestly nice, but a bit tragic, because it was just Sir Handel, Peter, Sam, and Duke at the time. There was Stanley as well, but he was turned into a generator. Or Smudger if you watch the TV show. I don't know why they replaced Stanley. And it was because they didn't have enough money to make Stanley. But honestly, like, I always found it a bit weird that the show had a low budget. But I'm still actually happy that they were able to do what they could with the model series. And at least they were able to tell these stories very nice and actually come up with some of their own original stories, like The Old Bridge, Rheneas and the Roller Coaster, Trusty Rusty, The Refreshment Lady's Tea Shop, and The Runaway Elephant. Sorry, Season 7 is my favorite season. And if you like Season 7, please tell me in the comments below. If not, what is your favorite season from Thomas and Friends? But yeah, before then, it was Sir Handel, Peter, Sam, and Duke, but their line closed down. They bought Sir Handel and Peter, Sam, but no one wanted Duke. So Duke's just been left in the shed, and trees grown around him, and so have bushes, and he was just lost for a long time until they decided to look for him again and bring him back to the Skarloey Railway, where Sir Handel and Peter Sam could take care of him. I don't know if that's supposed to be a full circle or not, but it was still a nice little thing to show. And now Duke really hasn't gotten that much screen time. They only mentioned him in the backstories, like when Sir Handel and Peter Sam were named Stuart and Falcon, and when they were both painted blue and green, which I'll touch on that later. Yeah, Duke is honestly a nice character, and I can see why a lot of people like him so much. I mean, also, he is a recolor of Bertram here, and they reuse Smudger's face, which, I'm not gonna lie, that's a good way to recycle models. Now, yes, I know Bertram doesn't really have that much of a character personality, but I like Bertram. He's cool. And hey, they gave him an actual character in the Thomas Creator Collective series. Remember that? Now, I don't know where Bertram appeared in Thomas Creator Collective, but the fan base does write their own stories for Bertram, just to, like, give him an actual character, which is one thing I love about the Thomas community. But back to Duke. So yeah, Duke's model is pretty accurate. It's a little bit close to the actual ertl model, sorry. Now, what I forgot is that Duke is supposed to have cylinders with a piston rod configuration like Percy and Lady. But ertl just didn't do that. Same thing with a few other models like they've done, like Percy and Henry specifically. And the scaling can be a bit off on most ertl models, but I still love it. So, that's Duke. Now let's actually focus on the other 6 narrow gauge engines. So, I'm pretty sure that you've all known that Skarloey and Rheneas have always been red, and I'm glad that they kept their paint jobs consistent in the TV show. And while they're both different engines, like, they're very easy to tell apart because of the names written on their sides, the different numbers, and the different designs. I'll touch more on that in a second, but yeah, overall, Skarloey and Rheneas do look similar to the actual ertl models. Sorry if I keep saying props, but you know what I mean. And yes, here's the other Skarloey that I do have for a comparison. I mean, I just tried to make these models actually accurate to the bigger guys right here. Like, if I show you here, look at all the detail on Skarloey's, like, bunker here, where the coal's supposed to be. Even the dome with the whistle. I mean, it looks eerily similar to, like, this. It's basically like these hyper-detail models, but just shrunken down. So if you like that idea, please tell me in the comments below. And before I say anything else, I have to give credit to Steel and Soot for the original ertl mini line that he made for Thingiverse. And I did try to make a few of my own original characters, like the narrow gauge engines, like I mentioned. Alright, so now in terms of characters, like, you probably know Skarloey and Rheneas that well. They're both the tough, brave engines who won't give up, and they're not afraid to put themselves in danger for the sake of their railway, because they want to do what they can to get their passengers home right on time, which is one of the reasons why I love Four Little Engines and Gallant Old Engine, respectively. The narrow gauge episodes are some of the best ones of Season 4. There are other Season 4 episodes I do enjoy, like Thomas and the Special Letter, Thomas and Stepney, Toad Stands By, Special Attraction, Bowled Out, Rusty to the Rescue. Please tell me what your favorite episode from Season 4 is, and why you like it. Alright, and now let's actually talk about these 4 right here. These are the ones I've been wanting to talk about. Now, if you haven't seen my Bluebird narrow gauge engines video, I'm going to explain. So, if you are wondering, like, why I painted Sir Handel, Peter Sam, Duncan, and Rusty red and black, respectively, these are actually based off of the Railway series versions of the narrow gauge engines. And you're probably questioning why I painted them all red. Well, let's be honest. This looks way more beautiful. Like, looking at all of these red engines here is just so pleasing to the eyes. Like, Sir Handel and Peter Sam were originally blue and green, but now that they've become members of the Sodor Railway, it wouldn't make sense for them to be painted red, just like Scarlet and Rhaenys, because when they're painted red, they feel like honorary Sodor members. Like, I'm sure most of you might agree with me, I don't know, but I feel like they deserve their red paints, and they are truly members of Sodor. Honestly, with their blue and green paints, they still look like they're from the Mid-Sodor Railway. Don't know if that's a good thing or not, but yeah. Also, I did paint Duncan red as well. Just so, like, he fits in with all the narrow gauge engines. Like, since they're all part of a team, like, their own fleet, I think it was nice that the Railway Series people, like illustrators, made the decision to make the narrow gauge engines all red. And I think the same thing happened with the Tally-Flynn Railway, where Skarloey was based off of. Like, yeah, the Reverend Audrey took inspiration from the Tally-Flynn Railway to actually, like, create characters like the narrow gauge engines. Like, he based Skarloey off of Tally-Flynn. He based Rhaenys off of Dolgok. He based Peter Sam off of the Edward Thomas. He based Sir Handel off of Sir Hayden. That's clever. And Rusty's based off of Midlander, and Duncan is based off of Douglas, the narrow gauge engine. So all these have unique names, unique character traits, and unique designs. And even though they're all painted red, they're still pretty beautiful. Like, especially Rusty. To me, Rusty looks like a little version, but a much more kinder version of Devious Diesel. Like, Rusty's pretty cool. And he is very nice and friendly. Even though Duncan does have a prejudice towards him in Rock and Roll, but they learn to become friends. And hey, Rusty did save Duncan from the collapsing bridge in Trusty Rusty. So I think Duncan and Rusty have a nice dynamic. So do Skarloey and Rhaenys. And the way Sir Handel and Peter Sam just banter against each other, like Sir Handel basically being the Greg Heffley from Thomas and Friends, and Peter Sam kind of being like Rowley, that just makes their dynamic very cool. Like how Sir Handel just pokes fun at Peter Sam. Although I still don't forgive him for, like, causing Peter Sam accident and giving him a special funnel. But it does take time to get used to Peter Sam's square funnel, even though I like his round one more. And all these look very nice. If you're wondering why I'm talking about all of them at the same time, is because the video is already being close to 22 minutes, so I'm going to have to wrap this up a little bit. And for those of you who are questioning why I gave them black lining instead of blue lining like in the Railway series, I thought I'd make them like a bit like Rhaenys here, since he has black lining, even though Skarloey has white lining. I think the way you can tell Skarloey and Rhaenys apart is their lining and their names, and their different faces. That goes for all the narrow gauge engines. Look, now this is going to be a little bit of a nitpick here. I know they might not look entirely different because of their red paint, but if you look really closely, you can tell that they're different shapes, they have different names, different character personalities, and different faces right here. Not to mention that Rusty is Diesel, so he stands out compared to all the other engines here. But here's my biggest nitpick with the narrow gauge engines. So when it was time to make the TV series, they actually had the budget to make the narrow gauge engines for season 4. And at first you think, oh cool, we're finally going to see the narrow gauge engines. The most anticipated characters we wanted to see ever since Oliver and Duck. Well, unfortunately, we got them. We got Skarloey and Rhaenys in red, and Duke in brown like he's supposed to. But as for the other engines, oh boy, what did they do to them? So they painted them all different, like, little colors here. Like, they made Skarloey red like he's supposed to, but they made Rhaenys a little bit of a lighter shade of red. But what I don't like that much is that, okay, I don't hate this change, but they painted Sir Handel blue. They made Peter Sam green like they did in the Mid-Sodor Railway. But they painted Duncan yellow and Rusty orange. I don't know, like, okay, there is a reason why they did this. So, the Unlucky Tug did a retrospective on the narrow gauge engines from season 4 and said that the reason why they were painted in rainbow colors is because since they were all painted red, people couldn't tell them apart. So that way, they had to make them all different, unique colors. So that way, people could tell them apart. Then there's someone who made a fan-made Thomas and Friends story called Mistaken Identities. You know, where the passengers can't tell the narrow gauge engines apart. So Mr. Percival does the sort of like thing and just has them repainted in different colors. But what happened in that episode? Oh yeah, don't forget. They painted Sir Handel pink. Wow, really? We're getting a call back to Tickle Pink. Okay, actually, at least this is better because people like Sir Handel actually has a nice character development. Sorry about that. Yeah, at least it gave Sir Handel a character development. But again, like Sir Handel mentioned, it's the news photographer's fault for getting the engines muddled up and confusing Sir Handel for Peter Sam. If that didn't happen, Sir Handel wouldn't have been painted pink. Maybe he could have been painted blue like he was supposed to. But I know, the only way he would earn it was to be nice to everyone, which he was, even though he broke down. So, okay, I understand why they did this, but it still raises a lot of questions. Why is it that hard to tell the narrow gauge engines apart? Just look at them. Like I mentioned before, they all have their own unique designs. Look, they have different wheel arrangements, different boilers, like Rheneas and Duncan are the most skinny compared to the narrow gauge engines, who just have like big saddle tank engine boilers. Not to mention, Skarloey has white lighting and a red roof. But Peter, Sam, and Sir Handel, yes, they might have the same windows. But look, Sir Handel has wheel arches and Peter Sam doesn't. And he has a square funnel so that way you could tell them apart now. Same thing with Rheneas and Duncan. Duncan has 2 different domes, while Rheneas just has one on the very back. I'm sure people would still be able to tell them apart even if they were red. Because if you read the Railway Series books, you can see that, yes, they're painted red, but they're all different. So you're thinking that, well, surely they would paint them all red like they're supposed to be, because this is supposed to be an adaptation of the books and how they're supposed to be, like how the stories are written, right? Well, they did change a few things, like making Donald and Douglas black instead of painting them blue. And also, like, replacing Agnes, Ruth, Jemima, and Lucy and Beatrice with other narrow gauge coaches, but that's besides the point. My point is that I don't understand why they would want to, like, make them different colors just because they thought parents didn't know them that well. I mean, they should, because they watch the show and they read the books to their kids. So they're looking at the pictures, they're looking at the narrow gauge engines, and I'm sure they'll still be able to know who's who. Like, I don't think there's anyone who has ever mistaken Sir Handel for Peter Sam. Unless you're counting mistaken identities. Sorry, like, that's just a little bit of a nitpick I have. I'm not saying that I hate these. And I'm not saying that I don't disagree, because if you like these, I respect your opinion. That's fine. Oh, sorry. Like, you can think differently. Like, you can have your own opinions on these narrow gauge engines. And yes, I do like how they're written. I like their character personalities, but their colors are just what sort of rub me the wrong way. I mean, when you're younger, you don't really think that's a problem, but it's just when you're older, the more you think about it and the more you research about it, the more confusing it gets. Alright, so I think that's all I have to say for the narrow gauge engines. So, if you guys like these narrow gauge engines, please tell me in the comments below. So, thanks for watching my review. I think this was pretty interesting, except for that little nitpick I had with them being painted different colors. But at the end of the day, I love the narrow gauge engines. They're cool, and I can see why a lot of people love them, especially for their red paint and Rusty's black livery. And if you like them in rainbow colors, that's okay. I respect your opinion. We can have our own say. Like, I love the narrow gauge engines, and I hope you do too. Thanks for watching, and I hope you'll stay tuned for more videos. Bye!